So, guys, we got a number of stories to cover today. Russian economic catastrophe news. We've got Ukraine's considerable and substantial strikes across Russia and Russian-occupied Ukraine. We've got Ukraine shutting down an entire port in southern Russia. 8% of Russia's total oil exports now completely offline, as well as all the cargo that goes through that port. Before we get into that and a bunch of other stories, we have to start with Ukraine's overnight strikes on, it looks like this was a Shahed factory. This is one of the biggest explosions of this war. It's absolutely, just take a look. I mean, look at that shockwave. It's like a nuclear test from whatever that was, Marshall Islands or Tahiti back in the 1950s. I'll read you what I wrote. Last night in Donetsk, it's like the gates of hell opened to swallow up these Russians. The size of the explosion. And here's just a film of that. That was the initial blast. It looks like there were about 1,000, according to the Ukrainian government, 1,000. This was mainly an intelligence operation. Took months to set it up, apparently. 1,000 Shahed drones and 1,500 warheads, plus a bunch of ammunition. Here's another angle. Elated locals in Russian-occupied Donetsk rejoice as Ukrainian strikes take out what was probably the largest Russian Shahed drone storage facility. Absolutely massive explosions. And here's just some Russian. I don't know if these people are, this is right on the Russian border here. And they're never too unhappy when these things happen. You know, maybe these are Ukrainians living under Russian occupation. Just massive explosions. Massive explosions, and they went on for hours and hours, according to NASA firm's data. And to get into what was there, our buddy Special Kherson Cat, according to, this was online, over 1,000 Garand-2 Shahed kamikaze drones were destroyed in strike on Donetsk base. This was at the airport in Donetsk, near the airport. The evening of November 5th, 2025, a strike was carried out on the launch positions and storage facilities of Garand-2 Shahed-type UAVs located at the Donetsk airport base. The strike involved both cruise missiles and strike drones. As a result of the attack, an ammunition depot was completely destroyed. Yeah, I'll say it was probably destroyed. A fuel storage facility was destroyed. A UAV pre-launch preparation site was destroyed. Power supply and communication nodes were damaged. At the time of the strike, the airfield reportedly housed up to 1,000 Garand-2 UAVs and more than 1,500 warheads. And there's a photo of the photo shows part of the Russian infrastructure for launching and storing Shahed drones on the grounds of Donetsk. And apparently this was a months-long intelligence operation to be able to strike this at the best possible time when it was loaded to the maximum. And it wasn't only Russian-occupied Donetsk, the Shahed thing that they hit last night. I mean, Ukraine's just running wild at this point. I don't know if there's no air defense or really what's going on. The Russians are just that disorganized. Russia's Volgograd oil refinery burning after last night's Ukrainian drone strikes. Processing around 5% of Russia's overall capacity, this refinery was handling 300,000 barrels per day before the war. This, combined with the Tuapse refinery closure yesterday, takes a total of 500,000 barrels a day offline. And as you can see, this is the refinery lighting up the night sky there in Volgograd. And to give you an idea of where that is, here you go. Quite a distance from Ukraine. And there was multiple strikes, as it tends to be these days. It's no longer one lucky drone sort of tagging the refinery or the factory. Lukoil's Volgograd, and this is news that just came out like 10 minutes ago, confirming that this refinery is now out of business. Lukoil's Volgograd refinery stopped oil processing on November 6th following an attack by unmanned aerial vehicles, 3 industry sources told Reuters. According to them, the UAV attack damaged the primary AVT-5 unit with a capacity of 9,110 tons per day. It's 20% of the refinery's capacity, and the hydrocracking unit with a capacity of 11,000 tons per day. The plant is stopped. The AVT-5 was on fire. There is damage to the hydrocracking unit. sappers are working. Once they finish, the inspection of the units will be carried out, said one of the industry sources. So that's 2 refineries taken out in the past couple days. Despite numerous videos of Russia's 3rd largest power plant burning this morning after Ukrainian strikes, the governor comes out to downplay it, but reminding Russians that prison time awaits those that post footage. For the Russian government, the primary focus of their war effort is now aimed at hiding it from the population, as increasingly difficult as that is. This is the Kostroma power plant. It has a capacity of 3,720 MW and is the 3rd largest in the Russian hellscape. And it's just a video of the burning Russian thermal plant, apparently the 3rd largest in Russia. When I show you where this is the interesting part. Ukrainian drones again had to traverse Moscow. This is the most protected area of this entire country. And as you know, yesterday I covered, or the day before yesterday, I covered that we hit some substations here. We were hitting substations here, and all through here. And it's a matter of time. Every route into Moscow is being taken out, and now we're taking out the thermal plants. And it was just the routes from thermal plants or from power plants to Moscow. Now it's the plants themselves, which is really interesting, and that I'm sure they have some anti-aircraft units protecting these, right? I mean, you would think they do. And the port that has now been totally shut down. The videos that I covered on this channel about 3 days ago, with Ukraine striking with missiles and drones and sea drones. The Tuapse port. This port is 8% of Russia's overall oil exports. It's not only oil exports, it's cargo, and that was also shut down today. So now all the ships don't want to step foot into this port, let alone the facilities that have been destroyed. Ukraine has just taken out a whole Russian port, one of Russia's busiest oil export centers, 100% out of commission. And this is the satellite view and what exactly is out of commission. And the ships are now afraid to go there. I mean, as you know, there were several ships that were burning in this attack the other day. These are giant tankers. And so now this oil will now probably be rerouted to Novorossiysk, which Ukraine is also hitting with regularity. And further on the closed down port, it's not only the port that is shut down there in Tuapse, it is yet another Russian refinery halts operations due to Ukrainian strikes. The Tuapse oil refinery has halted oil refining following a drone attack on the port of Tuapse. We didn't even know about this until last night. Apparently, we didn't only hit the port, but we also hit the refinery, which is good news for the free world and for humanity. With 380 million barrels of Russian crude oil already sitting in tankers all across the planet, exports fall off a cliff, dropping 30% in a week. If Russia can be forced to halt drilling rigs, it is the end. To give you an idea of the unfolding catastrophe for Russia, they're pulling all this oil out of the ground now. They can't refine it because the refiners are being blown to hell. And so now they're just exporting. So they decided to just start exporting this stuff. But the problem is sanctions coincided with that move, and now they have nowhere to sell the majority of this oil. It's all just floating around the sea. And the longer it sits there, the more expensive it is. It's expensive to keep these tankers out there. I mean, you've got insurance, you've got to pay the crew, you've got maintenance, and these are not new tankers. These things are falling apart. These are the cheapest and worst possible tankers in this shadow fleet, and it's just getting more and more expensive. And so the oil, as these countries realize how desperate Russia is with this glut of oil sitting on their hands, really needing to turn it into cash, the cheaper that this price is going to go. And further on that, so it looks like they've started to curtail the exports themselves in order to alleviate the situation. Tankers loading crude at Russian terminals. 26 tankers loaded Russian crude in a week to November 2nd. And as you can see, 2 weeks ago, 34 tankers. Last week, 34 tankers. This week, 26. So Russia is trying to deal with this, and really it's a bottleneck now. They are out of space to store this oil, no place to sell it, And Ukraine is hitting these refineries and pipelines. It's all going to hell. Bad news for the Russian hellscape continues accumulating as India and China are now importing 1.2 million barrels per day less in Russian oil than they were 1 year ago. This is data from Kepler. And as you can see, it started back in February. India and China started buying less oil, but now it is getting a bit crazy. Every month is getting worse and worse, and we just hit a record for the entire war of in terms of a drop in how much that they're purchasing. It was always up, and now it is consistently down, and down this month in a big way. That's October data right there. Another catastrophic collapse in Russia's oil and gas revenue with a 27% drop year over year. Tax revenue from the oil and gas industry is 40% of all Russian government income. This is a very big deal, you guys. October total oil and gas revenue for 2024, it was 1,200 billion rubles. And for October 2025, 900 billion rubles. That is a drop of 27%. And for the visual on that, and as you can see, it is, well, I mean, if you compare it to 2023, it's, I guess it's almost half. But from last year, it's down 27%. And the Russian propaganda matrix is no longer able to hide the scale of the catastrophe. They tried to blame it all on tourists that were buying up all the gasoline. That was the reason they didn't have gasoline. Then they tried to blame it on, out on the Pacific coast, they tried to blame it on the fishermen, those evil fishermen who were just using up all the gasoline, those selfish fishermen. And they had a number of other narratives. Then they blamed it on maintenance. I mean, well, yes, it was. I guess it was maintenance after the drones destroyed the refineries. They had to then maintain them. So I guess that wasn't so much of a lie at that point. Russian media no longer hiding Ukraine's daily destruction of Russia's oil industry. Strange change of tact. And why? We can all guess why that the Russian government is choosing now to sort of... Anyway, this is the front page of Interfax today. And the top story for a couple hours was the Yaroslavl refinery getting nailed by Ukrainian drones. They were totally silent on this. You're still not allowed to take photos of it, post them, videos, nothing like that. But now it is finding its way into mainstream media right on the front page. And I don't know why they're willing to admit this. Maybe they want to rile up the population. While Putin threatens the entire world with Oreshnik, Burevestnik, and Poseidon, the power at the Vostochny Cosmodrome has been cut off due to debts. So Russia, I guess they're not going to have a space program anymore. They will have Putin, but they won't have the famous Russian space program because they don't have electricity. Power companies have cut off power to some facilities at the Vostochny Cosmodrome due to debts. And this is just... Look, this is all Russia, you guys. None of this is surprising to those who've been following this for a number of years. To give you an idea where that is in the vast expanse of the savage Russian hell state, it's way out here. It's closer to the United States by far than it is to Ukraine. But little old Ukraine over here is the one calling shots. All these problems are because of little old Ukraine punching above their weight. And as the Russian economy, Russian society, the fuel crisis, the food crisis, on and on, continue to envelop the savage Russian hellscape, the oppression is really the only thing that we can be bullish on and sure of with this Putin regime. Read you what I wrote. There's nothing more Russian than people in cages. Today, the woman that was disgusted that Russians cut the heads off of living Ukrainian soldiers was in court. The St. Petersburg court upheld the prison sentence of 5 years and 2 months for hairdresser Anna Alexandrova, a mother of small children. And what was she guilty of? Well, due to a single online publication allegedly containing, in quotes, fake news about the Russian army. The prosecutor had requested 8 years. So 8 years in prison. And that was a verified story, and that was probably one of the earlier stories, but many came after it, of Russians just committing insane atrocities, not only the heads of our soldiers that Russians have cut off, it's also civilians. And this is all 100% verified, drone footage, everything you can imagine. This is 100% happening. These are things Russians are doing regularly all over any area of Ukraine that they're allowed to occupy. Social media posts will now get you prison sentences on par with murder. And here she is going into a cage. This is an appeal. And Russian courts have like a 98.9% conviction rate, and the appeals are something like 99.9%. So there's no hope. This is just theatrics to give the population the semblance, the perception of some sort of democracy when there absolutely is none. There was one person calling the shots in the Russian hellscape. And so what do you do when your economy is collapsing? You got an unaffordable war. You are out of cash. They're even closing down your space station. Well, you announce an arms race. Well, Putin yesterday gathered all of his most loyal apparatchiks together around this little table of misery in an undisclosed bunker in the Russian hellscape. I'll just read you what I wrote. Yes, for a real Russian collapse, the kind that'll have them drinking cologne in the streets and eating the pets. These things all happened during the 1990s. I'm not making any of this stuff up. While the IMF funnels billions to Moscow, that also happened. The IMF was funneling billions, and equal deposits were then made in Switzerland and Luxembourg and Liechtenstein, Cyprus. All that cash went out to the oligarchs that then brought that cash back to Russia and bought the entirety of everything. Everything belonged to like five guys. That's all funnels billions to Moscow. That's all immediately stolen and wired to accounts in Geneva. We needed an arms race. So really, this was the final puzzle piece that we were waiting for. I'd prefer if we had oil down to $10 a barrel, of course, but all the necessary pieces of the puzzle that assure that Putin's fledgling or stillborn USSR 2.0 project meets a fiery end in the next couple of years. This is going to be a spectacular collapse, an arms race. And these nuclear tests, this is unaffordable. Russia cannot afford to do this. This is in response to the U.S. Testing a Minuteman missile without a warhead. But the U.S. test was in response to Russia testing, well, a variety of threatening, they said, super weapon after super weapon after super weapon that we found out later was just total BS, according to Norwegian intelligence. Anyway, this is Putin trying to scare the pants off the Western politicians. This is entirely for foreign consumption. He gathered all these people around. Is it just me, or is he getting shorter? He's just like this little gargoyle fucker. The whole world's running around scared of this little guy. I mean, it's crazy what the world has become. The spinelessness of all this. It's insane. Only Ukrainians are willing to stand up to him. And what has the world become? Speaking of spinelessness, Russians continue rehearsing the shutdown of airports all over Europe in preparation to close all air travel for the holiday season. European politicians that have the power to expel all Russian passport holders will nonetheless allow what's coming. And this is just along in the series of airports that Russia is now closing down every day. There's never a day now where Russia's not closing down 2 or 3 airports across Western Europe. And yesterday was Belgium. A few times it's been Belgium now. Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, the UK once. Where else? I think Ireland had a problem. On and on. Netherlands, Schiphol Airport's one of the busiest in the world. And this, in my opinion, is just rehearsal for what they're going to do during the holiday season, when the airports are fully busy, probably around the 22nd of December. I imagine these Russians are going to use their newly acquired skills to flood drones. And these drone pilots, they're in the EU. These are like Russian passport holders generally that are in the EU, sitting in the EU with European visas, and they're going to flood drones all over our airports to shut down the air travel, to harm the economy. And it's all being allowed, it's incredible. Living under asylum in the EU, the head of Navalny's Russian opposition group has been arrested, working for the FSB, plotting bombings. In quotes, I was supposed to do what I enjoyed, join the ranks of the Russian opposition, meet new people, and ultimately report everything to the FSB. I felt I was doing more harm than good. He's saying he was enjoying his spying as he was serving the mothership. He was serving the Putin government. His name was Rogov. Rogov said during one of his interrogations, according to the publication, and here's the headline, a Russian activist confessed to Polish investigators that he worked for the FSB. He was the former head of Navalny's headquarters in Saransk. He leaked information about exiled opposition members to the FSB. And what's funny about this is that he didn't actually get caught organically. He was cheating on his wife, and then so his wife turned him into Polish authorities, for working for the Russian government. He was fake Russian opposition. He got asylum in the EU because he was, quote, persecuted, which the majority of these, in quotes, Russian opposition usually are that. Anyway, so the wife turned him in, and then when the police checked her out after having arrested the husband, they found out that she was also working for the Russian FSB and arrested them both, and now they're both sitting in prison, and they're looking at lengthy prison terms. And just remember that when you hear the term Russian opposition, you have to be very selective, as it's probably only 1% of, in quotes, Russian opposition that is actually real Russian opposition. Most of the time, they are, the only problem they have with Putin's, looting and his global terror binge is that it's not them that are doing it. It's not them that are in the position of power to do the same exact thing. It's the Russian imperial mindset. It's a cultural thing. You can't get away from it. It doesn't matter, Russian opposition or not. You'll always get the same thing. There is now nothing in or around the Putin regime that isn't merely desperate propaganda nonsense to hold power. This is a hilarious story, you guys. The Putin regime just married two of their big propaganda figures in a fake marriage. And I just remembered, I likened it to the old Hollywood with, when the same things were done to keep movie stars in their positions. Like the fake Hollywood marriages of the 1950s through 1990s, designed to deflect from accusations of homosexuality in the film's golden age, or Michael Jackson's later criminality when he was married to that woman, that Lisa Marie Presley, and you could tell he'd never kissed a woman. The Putin regime has just joined two of their most powerful propaganda voices in holy matrimony. Closeted homosexual Kremlin pop singer Shaman has married the government's chief internet censor and Safe Internet League head, Ekaterina Mizulina. This is one of Putin's old mistresses, first of all. Second of all, she is the daughter of a Russian senator. And third of all, she is the one that sort of runs the new, quote, family values internet censor. She decides what is going to be okay on the internet. It's this sort of new technological firewall that they're increasing every day. And there's the kiss. You can tell that, look how excited and absolutely in love that she is. And they got married in Donetsk, right? So this whole thing also served to sort of legitimize Donetsk as being Russian and to sell it to Russians as, wow, Donetsk, maybe we should buy a house there. Maybe we should go visit Donetsk. It sounds so great. We've got our top cultural figures are even getting married there in military fatigues. So just look at the whole ceremony, and it is just insane. I gotta start from the beginning because it's just nuts. And all the local gangsters are there, and right there behind them, that's Pushkin in the blue jacket. He runs the Donetsk, the hellish Donetsk People's Republic, in quotes, for Putin. And when they first occupied, they basically took all the businessmen. If you had restaurants, if you had a company, if you had a factory, they took them all into rooms and basically just said, look, there's a great movie about that called Donbass. You should watch it, where there's real footage of all these things happening. They basically took anyone that had any money into a basement. If you had more than one car, whatever, bank accounts, anything, they went and they drained the assets of the entire region of Donetsk, the city of Donetsk, in 2022. And look at this kiss. Look how in love they are. Everyone in Russia knows he's gay, by the way. This is not my accusation. Look at her. She's like, no, get him away from me, help. And this guy's got a Cartier bag over here. And this is Pushkin. He runs he's a local gangster that runs it for Putin. Then we got some Chechen gangsters behind him. So this is matrimony. This served a lot of purposes. I can understand why the Putin regime is doing this. And it's just hilarious that, they're going to try to push this on Russians in their media. It's all over Russian media last night. It's like the top story. And some Russians will believe it, I imagine. But I don't know. I can't imagine it. The whole thing's just too insane. And on the Russian home front, just to show the collective mindset of where Russians are with this war, I'll read you what I wrote. A Russian woman doesn't seem very upset that all the men in her family took cash to murder people in Ukraine, but then only a piece of spinal cord returned. This is what she said. She said, all the guys I know went over there to Ukraine, and then all we got back was a piece of spinal cord. First, my cousin was mobilized. Then my brother went, and both of them are now in coffins, or spinal cords in a coffin. My cousin was mobilized, and he went on a mission and was declared missing in action. The savagery of the Russian hellscape. My lord, my brother said, I will find him. So he went to avenge the death. Well, at first he went to Bakhmut and spent close to a year there. Then he went on leave. He sustained an injury. He was at home for half a year. They always send your ass back to the front, right? Then he went back. In short, all the people he served with are no longer alive. But you see, she got the cash for it, though. That's the part she's not telling you. So he went back to the unit, but there were already different guys there. He went to Kursk. In short, they went missing, MIA, during their first mission. My mobilized cousin is also MIA. My aunt and uncle received a letter about providing their DNA. Oh, that's rough. These guys signed contracts to murder people in Ukraine. So don't feel bad with these guys. Both Ukraine and Russia exchanged body bags, and they found my cousin's ID in one of the bags. How did it get there? She's just appalled. In short, there was a DNA match with part of the spinal cord and something else. Well, at least they got the spinal cord. That was all that was left of my cousin for them to bury. God, that is just... but at least now he's not going anywhere. He'll always be home, though his home is small now. But that's okay. Yeah. You guys, Russians, it's just getting wilder and wilder. And just a reminder that Russia's model of genociding nations, then forcing survivors to be Russian, is the basis for Moscow's empire, and it hasn't changed for hundreds of years. Here is the 1864 plea from the nation of Circassia to Great Britain, asking for help as Russians massacred up to 2 million men, women, and children. Only 8% of the population of Circassia survived, and those people were deported to the far reaches in order to completely obliterate any notion of Circassia. You probably haven't heard of Circassia, and this is how Russia does it. It's just that most cultures have graduated beyond these barbaric methods of collecting territory. Today, the land on which Circassia existed is now commonly known as Russia. Russia isn't a country, but a prison of nations. Anytime Russians have the chance, they will metastasize further. And coincidentally, this is just the area here on the Black Sea. Here's Crimea, here's Ukraine, here's Turkey. This is just the area that TWAP support that Ukraine just successfully put out a commission was where it's located, as is Novorossiysk, which is next on Ukraine's hit list. And here's the actual plea itself from the people of Circassia, begging the people of Great Britain to help them, which nothing was done, and the people were massacred. And on that note, guys, that's all I've got for you today. And all right, have a good one.